Right now, as you are watching this video, something is happening at the bottom of the ocean that many marine researchers say they cannot fully explain yet, and it has left more than a few experts genuinely unsettled. Just weeks ago, 150 killer whales, the undisputed kings of the ocean, the apex predators that everything else in the water is afraid of, beached themselves on the shores of Tasmania. Some were already dead. The ones that were still alive fought rescuers and refused to go back into the water, behavior that several observers on the scene described as pure panic. Killer whales, acting like they were terrified of the very ocean they rule. Think about how insane that sentence even sounds. But it didn't stop there. Reports put the number at over 700,000 turtles, a species that is only supposed to live near Mexico, at 150 meters depth, somehow crossing 9,000 kilometers of open ocean to wash up on the beaches of Odisha, India. Around the same time, in Kerala, thousands of fish threw themselves onto the sand and died, refusing every attempt to push them back into the water they were born in. And then came the video that broke the internet, a 6-meter-long, glowing, rubber-skinned creature lying dead on a beach in Mexico. Not a hoax, not CGI, a real deep-sea oarfish, a creature so rare that most marine biologists will never see one in their entire career. And according to centuries-old legend that many coastal communities still swear by, this fish appearing on shore is often followed by catastrophe. So here is the question nobody wants to ask out loud. What if all of this, the whales, the turtles, the fish, the oarfish, is not a coincidence? What if it's a warning? Some people online are already saying the same thing, that this is the Leviathan, the legendary sea monster that folklore has long blamed for sinking over 100 ships and claiming more than 1,000 lives inside the Bermuda Triangle, finally waking up. Is that actually possible? Or is the real explanation even scarier, because it means the monster isn't some ancient creature from the deep, it's us? By the end of this video, you are going to understand exactly why the ocean is emptying itself onto our beaches, what history says happens next, and why some scientists say this is one of the most alarming patterns they've tracked in decades. Stay until the end, because the last part of this story, the part connecting all of this to something that could affect your country next, is the part nobody is talking about yet. Let's go to the bottom of the ocean and find out what's really happening down there. Before we go further, if even one of those facts made you pause, drop a "buh" in the comments right now, because by the end of this video you're going to want to argue with someone about what's really causing this. Planet Earth is 71% ocean. That's not a small number. It means most of our planet isn't land at all, it's water. And here's the part that should genuinely disturb you. After hundreds of years of exploration, satellites, submarines, and billions of dollars in research, human beings have only ever explored about 5% of that ocean. Let that sink in for a second. 95% of our own planet, an area larger than the entire surface of Mars, remains completely unknown to us. We know more about the surface of the moon than we know about what's living in our own backyard. Somewhere in that unmapped darkness lies the Mariana Trench, also called the Challenger Deep, the single deepest point on Earth. Picture Mount Everest, the tallest mountain on the planet, dropped straight down into it. The peak would still sit more than 2 kilometers underwater. No sunlight, no light at all, past a certain point, total, permanent darkness, forever. And the pressure down there would crush an unprotected human body into pulp faster than you could even register the pain. And yet, impossibly, things live there. Not just survive, thrive. Take the deep-sea anglerfish. It carries its own light source, a glowing lure dangling right above its mouth, and it uses that light to hypnotize smaller fish into swimming straight toward it. The moment they get close enough, it's over. The anglerfish's jaw unhinges and swallows them whole. This is the same species nicknamed the Black Sea Devil, a hunter built for a world of total darkness more than a kilometer underwater. It should never come anywhere near the surface. But a few weeks ago, one was filmed near the Canary Islands, in shallow water, in broad daylight, doing something its biology says should be impossible. Around the same time, a Russian fisherman pulled up something even stranger, a creature so bizarre that when the footage hit social media, thousands of people were convinced it was an alien. In reality, it was a smooth lumpfish, a deep-sea species whose soft, pale, wrinkled body bears an eerie resemblance to an exposed human brain. Nobody expected to see it dragged up from the deep, alive, in a fishing net. These aren't isolated random events anymore. They're becoming a pattern. And the deep sea has a very old, very specific way of warning us before disaster. One that goes back centuries. Now here's where the story gets genuinely unsettling. Because the fish that's showing up on beaches around the world right now has a nickname you need to hear before we go any further. The Doomsday Fish. For centuries, one creature above all others has been treated as a warning sign in coastal cultures around the world, the Oarfish. Long, silver, ribbon-like, and capable of growing over 8 meters in length, it lives so deep in the ocean that entire human lifetimes have passed without a single confirmed sighting in some regions. Which is exactly why, every time it does appear, people take notice. Go back to the 15th century, to the icy coastlines of Greenland and Iceland. Fishermen reported a massive, multi-meter-long fish washed up on the shore, its eyes reportedly shining like stars in the dark. Some thought it was a sea demon, others thought it had fallen from the sky. Within days, a violent, unprecedented sea storm tore through the region, sinking dozens of ships and drowning thousands of sailors and villagers. Fast forward to 1855, off the coast of Japan, fishermen pulled in silver, glowing oarfish from their nets, an event rare enough that it was written into local records. Shortly after, a massive earthquake struck Tokyo, leveling the city. From that point on, a belief spread through Japanese coastal communities that the Ryujin, the god of the sea, sends these fish to the surface as a final warning before unleashing his fury. At the time, nobody understood the science behind it. They just knew the pattern was real. Then came February 2011. Along multiple beaches in Japan, dozens of dead oarfish washed ashore within a short span of time. Enough to make local and national news. Fishermen and residents whispered the old warning to each other again. Barely a month later, on March 11th, 2011, Japan was hit by the most devastating tsunami in modern history. Over 20,000 people lost their lives. More than 500,000 people were left homeless. Entire towns were erased from the map. The total damage exceeded $230 billion, making it one of the costliest natural disasters ever recorded. Read that again. Dozens of dead oarfish. 1 month later, 20,000 people gone. If you didn't know that connection before this video, comment 1855 or 2011 below, whichever one shocked you more, because what's happening right now is bigger than both of those combined. And now, in the present day, oarfish are being reported on shorelines in multiple countries at once, from Mexico to Japan to parts of the US West Coast. Not one isolated sighting in one country, multiple sightings, multiple oceans, around the same window of time. Which raises a question several researchers following this pattern have started asking out loud. If this really is a warning sign, is it warning us about a local disaster this time, or something much bigger? There's another detail that rarely makes it into mainstream reporting. Oarfish aren't the only deep-dwelling species behaving strangely right now. Giant squid, another creature so elusive that it was only filmed alive in its natural habitat for the first time in 2012, after over a century of searching, have also been reported drifting closer to the surface in unusual numbers. Fishermen in several coastal regions describe nets coming up heavier than usual, with species that, on paper, shouldn't be anywhere near those depths. Marine biology forums have quietly been comparing notes on this for months, long before it became a viral topic. Individually, each sighting can be explained away. Together, across multiple oceans, in the same rough window of time, it becomes much harder to dismiss as coincidence. Before you write this off as just an old fisherman's superstition, you need to hear what's actually happening under the surface, because the real explanation might be worse than any myth. Strip away the folklore, and the uncomfortable truth is this: the deep sea isn't sending us a supernatural warning. It's sending us a biological distress signal, and the ones responsible for triggering it are us. Because of human activity, the same killer whales that rule every inch of the ocean are now too afraid to stay in it. The same anglerfish, built to survive in total darkness a kilometer down, is fleeing toward the light. Millions of turtles and fish are beaching themselves and dying rather than staying in the water they were born in. But here's the part that should worry you more than any single explanation. None of these events happened in isolation, in one country, one season, or one species. They're happening everywhere, all at once. And that's not how ordinary environmental damage usually behaves. So what's actually forcing an entire ecosystem to move at the same time? There are three forces at work, and each one is worse than the last. Sunlight only penetrates the ocean to a depth of around 200 meters. Below that line, the water has remained cold, consistently, reliably cold, for millions of years. Every organism living down there evolved specifically for that narrow temperature range. Their bodies, their metabolism, their ability to pull oxygen from water, all of it is calibrated for cold. But global warming is breaking that system.